superstar ball handler role. They're going to have to work out some fit issues. And the top of the West with the Clippers, the Nuggets, the Warriors, and some other teams, plus the East is just so good. I'll go good team, but fiction.
I'm 0 for 2. I'm going to give you an easy one just to make sure I get a win here. Kevin Durant will not be on the Nets roster to start the season. Fact or fiction?
I'm going fact. I get that the Nets have to take a hard stance now and threaten to keep him, and they could. It's not out of bounds, but I just don't see a prolonged war between the franchise and a player of this stature, so I will go fact. He's elsewhere.
All right, we have discussed, obviously, Kevin Durant and what goes into the potential trade for him. He wants out of the Nets. Kyrie Irving, who came to the Nets 3 years ago along with Kevin Durant, now looks likely to be moved as well. But again, this market seems to be a little bit frozen. So, Brian, Windhorst, what is the latest on Kyrie and a potential trade for him?
Yeah, there's just not a lot of bidders here. And it's not to imply that Kyrie isn't a highly talented player who can uplift a team. We know that is the case under certain circumstances, and the chances of him actually maybe being more focused this year are higher because it's the last year of his contract. But with what's gone on the last 2 years, and with Kyrie being able to leave after a year if he wants to, there's just not bidders beyond the Lakers. And then there's the issue that he makes $37 million. It is not simple to trade for a player who makes $37 million. There might even be teams out there that if he was making less could assemble a trade. So the Lakers know this. The Lakers are going to lowball the Nets, and obviously that has happened so far because they know they are bidding against themselves for the most part. Most teams who've been mentioned in the Kyrie sweepstakes have run away from even being attached to it in rumors. The Lakers to firm up their stance more. The one thing that is a potential change agent here, LeBron James wants Kyrie Irving. And it's not because he wants Kyrie Irving because he's the best teammate in his history. He wants Kyrie Irving because the Lakers can get him. He doesn't have a whole lot of choice. And he knows that he's got a contract extension situation coming up. And that's the change agent. If there's no deal by early August when LeBron can extend, will LeBron use that as a leveraging point to force the Lakers? If I were the Nets, I might be hoping so.
Yeah, I would think so. Is he what the Lakers need? What do you think about this situation with LeBron trying? You're laughing, Nick Friedel, but what do you think about LeBron trying to recruit?
Kyrie Irving by himself is a good player, but he's not going to fix all that ails the Lakers. That has a lot of deeper issues there. But it cracks me up. Listen to Brian. What NBA team looked around and saw all the things that happened in Brooklyn for the last 2 years and said, you know what we need to add? We need to add Kyrie. He will really calm everything down and make everything a lot better. That is not going to happen. The issue for the Nets is everybody knows this, and they can't afford, after what they've been through, not only the last few weeks, but the last couple of years, to bring him back into camp and say, okay, we'll make it work now. This is a divorce that will end up happening. The issue for Brooklyn is it really does feel like the Lakers are the only team out there, and they're the only team out there because LeBron has the ego to think he can make it work with Kyrie again.
Zach, do you think this is how this ends with Kyrie on the Lakers?
We'll see. Look, I wouldn't sleep on a Lakers team with Kyrie Irving, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis. And Kyrie Irving in the last year of his contract with no vaccine mandate to keep him on the bench. I wouldn't sleep on that team. I like some of their supporting cast additions. The gap between their third best player and their fourth best player is a chasm, and that's going to be a problem against the best teams in the West. But that's a good team. But look, if I'm Sean Marks, something Windy just said is music to my ears. LeBron James wants Kyrie Irving. Okay, then come get him, because I got nothing to lose. What's the worst case scenario for me? I tell Kyrie Irving to stay away from the team until his contract expires? That's cool. Lakers, you know you cannot win the championship as presently constructed with Russell Westbrook as the third member of your big three. You know that. LeBron knows that. Rob Pelinka knows that. Everybody in LA knows that. You need me. I got nothing to lose. Come to me. And the longer it goes, the more likely some surprise team comes in with an offer that is at least palatable as an escape hatch for me. So I think, as Windy said and Nick said, this could go on for a while.
Wendy, if that's the deal we've heard.
I can't articulate I can't articulate how little LeBron cares about the Lakers' 2029 first-round pick. He could not care less about it. He's never cared about first-round draft picks. He hasn't cared about first-round draft picks when they're on his team. He wants to win tonight, and Kyrie Irving gives him a chance tonight. And so that's going to be the thing. We are in a moment right now where teams are pushing back against player empowerment. The Nets are pushing back, for sure. We see some pushback in Utah with the way that the Jazz are pushing away Donovan Mitchell. And now the Lakers are staring at this. Are they honestly going to push back on LeBron James if he's sitting there with the pen, ready to sign the extension, making sure the Lakers remain highly relevant in a championship possible contender for the next 2 years, and they're trying to negotiate to say, well, LeBron, the best deal, we can't offer 2029. The best deal is to offer this. I am going to have my popcorn and watch because I know how LeBron feels about these things.
Guys, how bad was the Laker roster construction in the last year or so that Kyrie is the only piece that everybody feels like, well, if they got Kyrie, then maybe, given everything we've seen, if it was just about basketball, sure. But it's never just about basketball with Kyrie. Ask anybody in Cleveland, ask anybody in Boston, ask anybody in Brooklyn. It's always something else. So I can't wait to eat that popcorn with you, Brian, because there are going to be storylines all over the place with that team if it does happen.
That is why he's only on a one-year deal. That is why he's likely on the rotation of many of us that a trade could come together very quickly. It has not, and therefore I bring in our basketball crew to ask why. Brian Windhorst, where do things stand right now with Kevin Durant and a potential trade?
Well, Dan, we've got a midsummer cold here because while the Nets really got a lot of interest in the instant after Durant's trade request came in, the offers have not met the standard that they were hoping. They are hoping to get the type of trade package that we talk about in 20 years. They're hoping to get a Herschel Walker type trade package. And those offers haven't come. And those offers haven't come for several reasons. One is that there's not a lot of feel for where Durant prefers to play. And while you'd like to think that his 4-year contract protects teams from that, it doesn't really. And so if Durant prefers Phoenix, the bar that the other teams like the Raptors or the Pelicans or the Heat would have to clear is what Phoenix can offer. That's the bar, not the bar that the Nets want. And that's a negotiating point that's happening right now. Secondly, Durant has 4 years left on his contract. That's perceived to be a real positive. But that's not necessarily how the teams involved in this are seeing. What they're seeing is, yes, we're getting Kevin Durant, but you want a 25 or years old or younger all-star, and Durant is going to be 37, 38 on this contract and make $50 million, and that is not a guaranteed thumbs up. So Summer League is beginning now in Vegas. It's a big, giant convention. Everybody gets together. We'll see if it changes, but right now we're frozen.
Right now frozen, and the Nets can say he's got 4 years left on the contract. We could just keep him. Is that a realistic threat, Nick Friedel?
They could keep him in the training camp, Dan, but I expect Kevin to get moved. The issue that a lot of these teams are having is that if you're the Nets and you're saying, oh, well, we can keep him, then you don't know what you're going to end up getting in return in your best case offer. The Nets and Sean Marks do not want to move Kevin Durant, but they know in this moment in time that this might be the best way to reset your organization. But if you're these other teams, all these other teams are saying, okay, we see what's out there. We're not going to give you every single thing you want because we're going to gut what would then be a championship contender. If you're Durant in all of this, you're saying, well, don't trade this guy or don't trade that guy because I want to be able to come into a team that has a legitimate chance to win a title instantly, not a team that is completely rebuilt with what I would have to bring in. And I just don't see it being clear-cut in the next couple months, but this ultimately, to me, will get done because Kevin Durant wants it to.
To that point about wanting to join a winner, Zach Lowe, look, this trade request happened right before a holiday weekend, and we haven't been on the air all week yet. I feel like maybe the weekend got a little foggy. Did I hear something about the Warriors, the Golden State